Great stuff, Justin. And good to see Alan in such high spirits.
Absolutely.
And good to hear his account of what actually occurred. So with an hour and 13 to go, there's a minute and 23 the margin between Lotterer and Pagenaud. Oh, you want to see the number crunching going on here in the speed announce booth. Hey, we're going to take you back. This is Pagenaud coming in for his second to last stop. This is while we were listening to the McNish interview.
Should be fuel only. Again, 65 litres this year, about 17 gallons. How do you been getting that fuel flow in about 26 seconds? We've got the watch on this one to see how the two camps compare in terms of the fuel cell design and everything else. Quick wipe of the windshield.
There's one more lap.
26 right now, so it's taking a few more seconds here. 29, so Audi have a better fuel flow into the tank. Same restrictor and everything else, same rules, but they've got a better system in getting that diesel into the tank.
These are back to live pictures now in the sister car, number 8, with Nick Manassian behind the wheel, in for his stop. Also second to last stop as well. Just thinking about Simon Pagenaud, and this race is not over yet. He could still be a Le Mans winner in just over an hour's time. What a year it's been for him. He's got high hopes to do IndyCar. He did make his IndyCar debut at Barber Motorsports Park earlier this year, where he finished 8th behind a lot of big names and really impressed everyone. Later this year, he's going to head down to Australia to compete for Gary Rogers Motorsport in a V8 supercar on the streets of the Gold Coast. And he's very excited about that. He's a very diverse and skilled driver, the reigning American Le Mans Series champion.
He is, and BMW announced this weekend that 3 of their factory guys, Joey Hand, Andy Prio, and Dirk Mueller, are going to be heading down. And we also hear word that Augusto Farfus may join them, so there may be 4 of those BMW factory drivers down there, which has become a tremendous event. Scotty, you were down there. You went with the best of teams, but it's quite the event.
Yeah, it was good going to Australia. I wouldn't say the event was very good, but it was certainly a... I always love going to Australia. Love being down there.
I really enjoyed getting those text messages from you. My teammates just crashed. Again. We're starting from the back. I'm not enjoying myself. Never mind. So much more to come from Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans 2011. Stay with us to the end. The 908 Peugeot for Team Orica Matmut. The older generation 908 was just forced to come into the pits for some additional service. Our lead car taking evasive action there. Andre Lotterer, he's had to do plenty of ducking and diving as he comes past the Oak Racing prototype. The 35 still circulating and flying the flag for the Le Mans-based Oak Racing team.
Yeah, he's still going to have to be on his toes here for the next hour or so. Just looking at the strategy here, I think Audi are going to need 2 more stops. For Peugeot, it'll just be 1, but they hold a healthy lead, the number 2 car, which should allow them to do that and still maintain the lead. So the upper hand still with Audi right now. Something
we haven't mentioned is this is Jacques Leconte's Labre competition team, and it could be a double victory for Corvette. It's something we haven't mentioned because Corvette Racing, the works team, leads GTE Pro, and Labre competition with Gabriel Gardel leads GTE AM.
That'd be a big day for Corvette.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. After losing the 1 car, you know, it would still give them a double win.
And hats off to the Labre team, because they allowed the Corvette factory drivers to come over and drive that car at the test, get some seat time, learn some things, try some development pieces on their car, because the car that they use is a year-old Corvette with the GTE AM division. As we've discussed throughout the course of this show, the cars have to have 1-year-old technology. You're not allowed to run the latest and greatest. That's why you don't see any of the 458 Ferraris in that field, 430s only.
We know that many of you will be turning on. It's just before 8 o'clock East Coast time, just before 5 West Coast, and it's just before 2 Le Mans time. What's the story? This is the story. Car number 2. Andre Lotterer, Marcel Fessler, Benoit Trelier have been in a very strong position for the majority of the race. They've been just going blow for blow, move for move with the Peugeot squad. And at the moment, the ball is in their court. it's up to Audi just to maintain this pace, not to make any mistakes, and they are looking good. They're in the position of strength versus Simon Pagenaud's number 9 Peugeot.
Couple of laps, he'll have to hit pit lane. That will give him round about an hour mark to go. They've been doing about 38.5 minutes on a fuel run, so that last start will be half a tank of fuel that will need to go on board.
That's the story for overall honours. In P2, it's a comfortable 7-lap lead for Greaves Motorsport Zytek over the Orica for the Signatech Nissan team. With Christophe Bouchou, that Scott Tucker's level 5 team has 1 foot on the podium. In GTE Pro, it's the 73 machine that has done the business. Tommy Milner, in his 3rd appearance at Le Mans, Jamie, has done a magical job. He's handled the pressure. He's fought off the likes of Giancarlo Fisichella and leads comfortably.
Yes, he does, and he led it all the way into pit lane. Tommy Milner has now gotten out of the car. Antonio Garcia has gotten in. They're not going to change tires. They're going to put Antonio in on the same set of tires, fresh fuel, and Antonio is now out and underway to finish this race. Greg?
Robertson's in. Okay, and this is a huge story in the GTM division. You're looking at the number 83 Ferrari crawling out. Right in front of them is the Robertson Racing Ford. This is a huge scenario. That Ferrari is wounded. They said if it's a clutch, they think they might be able to get it to the finish. It could also be diff, and they said if that's the case, they're in deep, deep trouble. Meanwhile, for Robertson Racing, that's the battle for 3rd. They just put David Murray in the car. They are putting intermediates on. They're putting the veteran behind the wheel just because of these conditions. If it does start to sprinkle a bit, get a little bit more sketchy, they want that experience behind the wheel. But if that 83 car, and as I said, it could barely make this climb out of the pits on this slight incline, that car is in deep trouble. These guys, this Robertson Racing team, has an opportunity perhaps to be on the podium, and they're thinking ahead here, as I said, putting the experienced David Murray behind the wheel, who has really been the man that has helped out Dave and Andrea Robertson make this program develop and happen and give them the coaching. And they are now, the report is, on the same lap. They're back a ways, but they're on the same lap. This one is on.
Well, they put intermediate range on, which, Greg, I'm a little bit perplexed about. We don't see much rain out there at all. Does it look to you?
That's just playing it ultra cautious. Yeah. The only thing that can happen, I mean, their chance is to beat the 83 car. And to do that, they just have to, you know, they're going to expect something to happen to the 83 car. And they're just going to go out and circulate.
Putting those inters on isn't going to throw you off the road. It's just going to give you that safety net if it does start to sprinkle. I think it's a good call. If that Ferrari is really wounded, as they're saying, with the clutch issue, then he just needs to keep putting some laps on here till the checkered flag drops, and they will assume that 3rd position and be on the podium. What a story.
Clutch or diff, either one. Diff would be even actually worse.
Lotterer lets the Ferrari of Giancarlo Fisichella let him know that he's coming through. Just the obligatory flash of the lights as he flashes down Les Honneurs, the first part of the Mulsanne straight, into the first chicane. A little bit of traffic. He needs to keep that lead margin, but he also needs to employ safety, good decision making, of which he does. He hasn't always done that. He's surprised us on a couple of occasions where we've applauded him for really nice moves, but then he took us by surprise and taking some risky ones with Marc Genet, the most recent one. Lotterer's lead is 1:21 seconds, but as you heard Calvin mention a little earlier, we'll expect him in any moment now.
Should be in on this lap. This is his 11th lap of the run. This is what they've done all day long. And then the question will be, what will they do with tires? Will they stretch it or play it safe, put some fresh rubber on there? And even though the grip level is there, you obviously wear that tire down a little bit if there's any debris out there. Maybe that'll be the safety caution. I think they have enough of a buffer in terms of the lead they have in this race.
It's always fabulous to do Le Mans because you've got to tell the worldwide, the global story about all the drivers, all the teams, but because we are speed, we are American-centric, and we've got a 25-year-old American who's just stepped from a Corvette C6R. Let's hear from Tommy Milner.
Tommy Milner, your first words to me just now were crazy. What do you mean by that?
That was the hardest stint in my life, for sure. with the pressure of 2 hours to go in the race, and one lap the corner is perfectly dry and you can run your normal speed, and the next lap it's soaking wet and you have to roll through in second gear at 30 mile an hour. So Danny Binks got me back sort of, I went off once I passed a Ferrari, of course, straight away. I went off in the first chicane there, and I braked way early and I just locked the fronts and lost some grip, and I had to go wide. So it's not over yet. Still got an hour to go. So in some ways, relieved to be out of the car because it's not fun out there right now. I hope, I know Antonio will do a great job. He's awesome. He's the ice man, basically. We've been checking our core body temperatures here this weekend, and he's been the coldest. So, fingers crossed.
Tommy Milner, you're 25 years old. You're a student of the sport, and you led Giancarlo Fisichella at Le Mans. What does that feel like?
Just leading
the sport, and you led Giancarlo Fisichella at Le Mans. What does that feel like?
Just leading at Le Mans is special, especially being this close to the end. Just to have that opportunity here with Corvette and Chevrolet, on their 100th anniversary for Chevrolet and the 10th anniversary for Corvette's first win here at Le Mans. I'm 25 years old, American kid driving an American icon. It's very special for sure, and it would mean a lot, to me to win this race. I've had bad luck here in the past, and this would make up for all that.
Great job. You did everything that they asked of you. Go get some rest. Thank you.
And he's only ever driven American muscle cars here at Le Mans, the Panos Esperante and the Corvette C6R. And he's less than an hour away from standing on top of the podium. See you in a moment. Is in and Greg is there.
Hits the marks perfectly. This is key. Obviously, this and one more is what's anticipated. Going after that windscreen, fuel going in. This Audi team, very calm, very deliberate. This is crunch time here, and this is when you even have to pull it down a notch. Don't get too excited. Make sure everything is done. Make sure every ounce of fuel goes into this beautiful R18. It is done. That car is underway. Very efficient stop, and they are out. And once again, no tires. They are doing everything they can to maximize time, and awfully confident in the Michelins, as you would expect.
And they're just going to need half a tank on that next fuel run, but this is the first time they made a liar out of me. They've done 11 lap runs all day long. What does Audi do? Maybe it's a slap in the face to Peugeot. They just did a 12-lap run. Yeah. Remarkable stuff. But, Scotty, you think there's a reason for that?
I think that what's been going on is the pace has been slowed down a little bit. We're seeing some rain coming down, and you just can't run the pace that you've been able to run. And with that, you can save a bit of fuel. So the Audi engineers, they are absolutely on top of how much fuel they can go or can't go lap to lap to lap, and made a calculated move on going for the number 12.
And I think what we may have been seeing, we talked about the fuel flow rate, the fact that the Peugeot has been doing those 12-lap runs, their fuel stops have been 2 to 3 seconds longer, but they're probably having to put a full fuel load in. Audi, the lap here, getting that extra lap is 8.5 miles. They may have 7 more miles left in the tank. And so what that means is when they're filling the tank up, they're not having to put 65 liters in, they're putting like 60 liters in. That obviously speeds up that fuel flow.
And it kind of forces their hand on their final pit stop to take that half a tank of fuel and not take tires. Go on to that fifth stint on those tires.
Well, they're kind of in a position now where they're not going to change tires. You're going to go to the checkered flag, because if you're going to do a splash to the end, just enough fuel to get you to the checkered, you're not going to want to take that time to put on 4.
Yeah, they would have done it just there where they had to take on the full fuel load and the tires in. But by not taking tires, they'll just go now with that half a tank of fuel and no tires, I'm sure.
Cost them 59 seconds to be on pit road there. So that's the number. They had a minute 21 lead the lap before, and it's 22-second lead after that pit stop.
Updating you on another story that we have been telling you about in GTE AM. This is that 83 JMB Racing Ferrari for the final slot on the podium in GTE AM. And it swung the Robertson's way, hasn't it, Greg?
It has has indeed. Actually, Dave Murray was able to run this car down and get by it, but it is now in the garage once again. And as you can see, they're cleaning it up. They're not even really working on it. So my guess is at this point, they're just trying to get it cleaned up. They'll send it out maybe for that last lap just to be able to show a finish and bring it by. But tough day for the JMB racing crew. So competitive for so long, but now that car is parked in the garage, and that means Robertson Racing on the podium in their first visit to Le Mans. It's a remarkable story in the making. Of course, there's still some time to go.
There you go.
And in their words, for them to come to Le Mans in a Ford GT at that car's ancestral home, Le Mans, Circuit de la Sarthe, makes it even more special. We'll see. There's still 51 minutes to go.
Tell you what, Simon Pagenaud has done a great job, and I think the faith that Peugeot have put in him, he was the fastest man in qualifying for Peugeot, and then they put him back in for this final stint, and that really makes a statement in terms of the belief in this young man. He's got a tremendous career going.
By the way, just on that story with Robertson Racing, what makes that very special, you talked about the ancestral home of the Ford GT. It was Dave Robertson, he said, what really fired this whole thing was as a kid watching those GT40s at Le Mans, Wide World of Sports in the 60s. So, boy, talk about coming full circle and a great connection. And by the way, the class-leading number 41 entry from Greaves Motorsports in P2, just completing what might well be their last stop. They are back out.
With the young rookie Olivier Lombard behind the wheel. There's so many good storylines throughout this entire field. There's the Robertson's Ford GT with Dave Murray behind the wheel. Shared some time with Dave the other day, and he said, boy, it's a real reminder of how fast time flies. I can't believe it's been 10 years since I've been here. But boy, is it great to be back.
Finished second in the GT class with Johnny Mollem and Sascha Maassen back in 2000. He was actually part of the Porsche factory team with the open-top Porsche back in 1998 alongside James Weaver. Didn't go his way that day, but great for him to return, and he has really mentored the Robertsons. He talks them through every aspect of this racing game, and this will give him tremendous satisfaction, not only from the driver's seat, but to bring along two drivers who don't have a lot of seat time and get them on the podium at Le Mans.
And they've kept the car clean. You can see that. They haven't run into things. They kept it out of trouble, reduced pace or whatever. We got to get to the finish.
Here's Pat Long.
Got to get that checkered flag. Patrick Long knows how to do that. And it's nice from a driver's coming to the first time to have somebody to look up to, have somebody talk to the track about. Be in that situation to really kind of get some sort of a feel what to experience at Le Mans for your first time.
He did some sim time prior to the test. Darren Turner, the Aston Martin drivers, has a simulator over in England. They came over, did some simulator work, and even the week of Le Mans, after the first day, they had an onboard camera. They then had Andrea sit in the driver's seat and play her on the dash and just get her through the motions, just trying to get into the rhythm of the racetrack. So they worked every angle to get those guys comfortable with this Le Mans circuit.
That's the GTM class leading car. That is the Labre competition Chevrolet of Gabriel Gardel, the Corvette, running strong. It's a really good team representation as well because they're 70. They came here with two different cars. Labre competition, they're 1-2 in class. And then, as we mentioned, the Robertson Ford GT. This is Joey Hand in the 56 BMW team Schnitzer M3. It's the same two cars that they ran here last year with significant aero updates, and they were determined. They showed good pace at the in qualifying and in practice, despite the hiccup that Andy Priaulx had with his car that damaged the front of it. They showed good pace. They showed that they may have been able to go with the likes of Corvette and Ferrari. It hasn't worked out that way. However, a podium will be some sweetener for a frustrating campaign yet again. However, a lot better result than what it was last year.
Absolutely. They've learned a lot. The car's been very fast. They've got some straightaway speed this year, and as a question of what might have been that one misfire, correcting that electrical gremlin, that cost them 2 laps, and that's exactly the margin they are away from the lead. So after that, the cars run really, really well.
Difference is, too, it doesn't all end here, Scott, does it? Because this is part of the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, of which BMW is fighting the likes of this car here, AF Corsa for Ferrari. It's all about that Manufacturers' Championship in the ILMC.
All about the Manufacturers' Championship, all about BMW when they're talking about when you come back to Le Mans and the disastrous year they had last year, to come back, yeah, it may not be exactly where they want to be, but wow, it's such a huge step forward from the disastrous year we saw.
Double points here this weekend, so this is massive. I mean, it's really, if you don't have a good point score here, it will really dig a massive hole in the championship. It's like having two problems throughout the course of a championship season rolled into one.
Antonio Garcia on board the Corvette.
So you're working twice as hard to lose twice as many points.
That's right.
That's not good.
What's the magic link between Corvette and victory here at Le Mans? Perhaps it's this guy. The quietly spoken Spaniard, Antonio Garcia. The last time Corvette stood on top of the podium here at Le Havre, this man was part of that successful trio, he and Jan Magnussen and Johnny O'Connell. Johnny O, no longer part of this program. He's got World Challenge commitments with Cadillac, and we know what happened to Jan Magnussen today. Very uncharacteristic to see Mags involved in an incident like that. Here is the level 5 Lola HPD machine, still third in class, third in P2, Christophe Bouchou driving.
Of course, Christophe has an overall win here at Le Mans. He has an overall win at the Daytona 24-hour race. He's won at the Spa 24. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. He and Scott Tucker have been tied at the hip for 3 seasons now, and just done a tremendous job in mentoring Scott Tucker. He's a difficult teammate to have around. A lot of guys who have co-driven with him have a lot of stories to tell, but he can get the team done. You talk to David Stone, he believes in him, and they made a great wise choice in Joao Barbosa being part of their ILMC team on a permanent basis this year. He will be at every race in the